Hello and welcome to this week's Q&A. I'll be your host, Mod Ieza, and joining me we have special guest, John C. We have Mod Rye. Hello. Mod Wolf. Hello. Mod Ash. Hello. And Mod Justin. And towards the end of the stream we'll also have Mod Surma, who will be showcasing some of the music tracks that will be used through A Taste of Hope, which is a quest that is going to be accompanying the Theatre of Blood. Cool. So I guess, John C, we haven't seen you here for a while. Mod John C, sorry.
You just call me John.
Yeah, John, okay. What are you here for?
I forgot I've got a handheld mic. So I'm here to give you an update on OS Mobile. And you'd think I'd have come to the sofa prepared with what I was going to say.
It doesn't matter.
That's not the case. So yeah, TLDR of what's happened so far. We've run 2 betas, one on iOS, one on Android. They've both gone really well. And in general, your feedback is that it's slick, it's responsive, it's a great experience. We've still got some work to do. Things like the spellbook need looking at, and we are looking at that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's going really well. So what's happening next? And I bet you want a release date. Should I give them
A release date?
A release date?
Maybe not a release date.
how about a beta start date?
We could probably give them an... Yeah.
Yeah, beta start. All right, how about next Thursday?
Wow, okay.
Next Thursday?
Next Thursday. All right, we're on a closed beta starting next Thursday. Great.
Damn. Wow.
Awesome. As in the 10th of May, that's correct. So yeah, we're going to start the closed beta phase, which is it's really important. No longer are we limiting the betas by like 6 or 7 days, or the iOS one, which ended up going for 2 weeks. This is going to come on and stay on for as long as we need it to, basically. So that means through a game update, it's going to stay. You obviously have to download a new app if we've got any game engine, but that's it. It'll be instant and available. But to start with, this is going to be Android only. I don't know what else I've got to say.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Android's always on. Open the beta next week.
Yep, we're starting pretty small. I should say this is a closed beta still, but it is always on. And yeah, I'm looking to get about 10,000 in the first week to just confirm the stability and make sure that as a studio we're able to actually run this service, because that's still something we need to learn. But yeah, moving on from that, we'll be going into really wide open beta as the summer months come towards us. And iOS will come when it's ready.
There we have it.
Right.
Cool.
I'm going to go away now.
It's rather handy having a live beta like that, because it means that not only do you get to try using it and see if it works on your devices, we get to try using it to do game updates and see if we can still do game updates on it, which is, well, slightly more complicated when everything's just running on our own servers that we control. Once you've got to go through stores, that's a lot more complex for us to handle, and, well, we need to practice too. So that's the kind of thing we'll be practicing under the hood while you're wondering whether the beta's working or not.
I think it'd be nice also this week, obviously the Moss Boss is coming out, and a lot of stuff that's going out this week you guys won't even know is going out because it's for mobile, and with it being always on, we can start telling you the stuff that we're working on alongside that as well, because of course Justin in particular has been working quite hard on mobile with Mod Jed, and a lot of features that feedback that you guys have given are going in this week, but we're going to tell you, I think, in a blog. I could be incorrect.
Yep.
What those are, but then we'll start adding those to the update info as well.
Yep. So I think for now we'll keep the mobile posts kind of like separate. I believe Mod Sween will be putting together a blog that will announce the Android Always On and the details in terms of that and what changes we've made. So expect to see info in there. And I guess towards the in the future we'll just combine it as part of the standard weekly update posts, because everyone else will hopefully have access as well. So
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, you mentioned Mod Sween. So he actually asked me to explain why this is Android only and not iOS. So I'll happily do that. I imagine that there's a lot of worry about it being on one and not the other. We have no problems with Apple and no problems running on iOS whatsoever, bar one, and that's the release process, in that they take up to 2 days to review our app before they can actually, before we're able to actually publish it, which means we can't give you an always-on service at the moment. We have a solution for that. It's technically quite difficult, but the team are working on it, and it's something that's not going to block us at all in the future. But right now, that doesn't exist, so that's just something to solve. So don't worry about anything. iOS is fine. Yeah.
Cool.
Great. Right.
Thanks for that, John.
I'm going to jump away now. Enjoy the rest of the stream.
He's going to leave us.
See you again soon.
Ooh, okay.
Bye.
Awesome. Now, while John leaves, there's a few things that I just want to update you all on, so excuse the talking for a few moments. But let's talk about what we've got coming up in the future, in the near future anyway. So tomorrow, we'll see the release of Bryophyta, the Moss Giant boss. The week after that, we've got the Android Always On beta starting. And then the following week, we'll see the release of the Chambers of Xeric challenge mode. So we've got 3 weeks of pretty decent content going on, jam-packed. Now, obviously, we've also then got A Taste of Hope and the Theatre of Blood that are going to be coming up relatively soon. We're not going to spoil the date of those releases on this Q&A. We've actually got something a little bit more exciting planned. So keep your eyes peeled, and I'm sure you'll see something that will give you a bit more information. Aside from that, a hot topic at the moment is third-party clients. Matt Kay was meant to be joining us on the stream today. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it alongside Mod Sween, so we have Mod Wolf and Rise replacements. But Mod Matt Kay has said a few things that I'd like to pass on, and a little bit that we've added in there as well. Basically, the bottom line is that we're aware of everything that you guys are saying, and we know what's going on at the moment. There are things that are being worked on. Unfortunately, I can't give you any of those details at the moment or discuss that any further. But as soon as we're able to let you know what's happening, we will. There's no time frame on that, and I just want to say that, you know, asking it every single week isn't going to make that come forward any faster. Ultimately, you know, we know that you want to hear info, but barraging us with the same question over and over again isn't going to make you have an answer any sooner. That being said, in the meantime, our previous statement still stands, and that is that we cannot guarantee the safety of your account if you're using a third-party client. So it's always used at your own risk. If you want to ensure the safety of your account, then always use the official old school RuneScape client. And that's about it from me. So how about let's move on to the disquestions? It's because...
Has he got the disquestions?
I have. So we wanted to try something a little bit different with this Q&A, and rather than have the typical content suggestion questions, which there are a few of them listed in here, it's more going to be a bit of a discussion, you know, between ourselves and questions that you guys have asked that you've been burning to hear the answers of. So first off, we have from Hulubek, who says, which content would you add from RuneScape to old school if nobody could stop you?
Who are we going to start with on that one?
Whoever wants to go first.
So I'm a big fan of Diablo-style ARPGs as well. So I would really like to bring the Shattered Worlds update that RuneScape released last year. Yeah. That was which was essentially kind of like running rifts and greater rifts in the Diablo series.
I think it was a year ago this Monday, actually, funnily enough. So, yeah.
Interesting. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll have a go.
Oh,
hello.
We have Mod Maz on the chat as well, who was also mic'd up.
So one of the things that was almost ready when we brought Old School out was actually the next quest after Hand in the Sand, and that is Back to My Roots. I'd love to have brought that across.
Awesome.
I wish we could have Chosen Commander. We actually can have Land of the Goblins if people want it, but since it's not the most exciting quest and it leads to a crashing and a kind of cliffhanger ending that we would not be able to resolve without Chosen Commander, we haven't tried pushing Land of the Goblins at you. But Chosen Commander was like my favourite quest of all the ones I'd done, including the ones I'd written. I mean, I'd been playing quests for years. I'd written quests. I played Chosen Commander by Mod John A, and suddenly it felt like seeing what a quest could be for the first time. So, not the least of which is it ends a rather long storyline, which is something that will be a bit harder in Old School, because while we can have Land of the Goblins, if we wanted to finish off the Dorgshoon story, we'd either have to recreate Chosen Commander, which is sadly unfeasible, or we'd have to make something that was a bit like it ended the story but wasn't the same. And I have a feeling it wouldn't be as good, frankly. Or we tell a completely different story, and none of these are exactly ideal. Anyway, so I wish we had that. Sorry.
Okay.
It's a hard question, because I feel as though we've already... One thing that we have the benefit of doing on Old School is having the hindsight of mistakes that the other team might have made in the past, or we can also pick and choose things that went particularly well and improve on those aspects. So you look at things like Superior Slayer creatures were originally from a RuneScape, and we took the best parts of that and the best parts of their drops, like the Vecna Skull, and we tweaked it to make it better and enhance that. And I think we kind of do a really good job of that kind of thing. In direct answer to your question of what I would like, I'm not actually too sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd at least...
Hey, that's the exact same answer that I was going to give. I actually don't know. So Modroy, anything from you? You
I
can
don't
pass.
really know because like from like kind of 2012 onwards, I haven't really been kind of keeping up to date with what RuneScape's actually been releasing.
Okay.
I didn't want to
So-
say that, but also I haven't
Yeah.
for the last like a little while.
So I'd say probably kind of like pre 2012. It's gonna please probably Twitch and Reddit, but Soul Wars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, we should have said Stealing Creation. Oh, that would have been the win answer, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Maybe.
For what it's worth, there was something that I did in about 2009 that I would like us to be able to do again. I don't think they'd mind so much compared to some of the more controversial things. RuneSpan. But what I was thinking of is the ability to equip items and unequip them again in the bank. Letting you equip them is actually easy because we can stick extra options on things. We don't have quite a lot of the bags in the game, so you can empty them, fill them in while you've got the bank open. Doing the same with equipable items ain't hard. However, to do it, we also want you to be able to unequip them again. Otherwise, it would be really quite frustrating. Click the wrong thing, now I've got to close the bank, take my clothes off and open the bank again. Yes, you do. That's why high street banking is going down the tubes, by the way. So, what I'd like is to be able to merge the bank screen with the equipment interface, like I did in like 09 or thereabouts, maybe 2010, and then you can not just equip and unequip items, but well, have a proper loadout experience, see your stats of what you've got, try something different, switch back to the bank. I think I made it lag free as well, so that was convenient. The thing is, I can't just copy the code I used that time because it
Read
was.
in the bank.
Oh, no, that's the easy bit of it. It's the game frame. Like the game frame code that Maz and I have in old school is very different to what was put together in 2008 when other RuneScape first got a big game frame. We would not be able to use the same implementation. Nor would we wish to, because it was a dirty, dirty hack. And I think these days we can do that kind of thing a lot better than we did then.
I mean, I'm interested in what the chat would think on that question as well, to be honest. I saw a couple that I quite liked, like loot beams.
terms of what they would
I quite
like to
enjoyed loot beams. I don't know if people would like that as a toggleable thing, but that wasn't a bad suggestion that I saw. It's nice to have a notifier other than just the meds.
I want to be cheeky and have a second one. I want a proper clan system, but without the Citadel.
Oh, that'd
Okay.
be, yeah, that'd be
I
really
think
good
we'd
as
all
well.
like them without the citadels.
the longer you leave this going, the more and more things that you think of. And I've started to think of things now, but I'm not going to keep it on anymore. We've got plenty of other discussion points to carry on with. So the next one actually is very similar. It might actually help out. So Francesco says, part of the theme of RuneFest was filling in the gaps. Are there any particular blank areas on the map that each member on the couch would like to tackle next? And if so, why? And what kind of content would you put there? Quite long, but...
Gonna start, Ryan.
I need more to think.
Oh, I was going to go the other way around. I don't know if I can say it. Okay,
that.
I want to fill in. Firstly, there's this part on the right side of the desert that looks ugly at the moment, where it's just black boxes and it just cuts off to invisibility, which I like to clean up anyway. But Menaphos, I think we've discussed this before, so I think I can say it.
Okay,
I really
yes.
hope that I'm pretty sure we said something.
Well, we're about to find out.
Great,
so.
yeah. We have before Theatre of Blood ever even came into concept, or that area of being the next idea of a raid's location, we discussed the possibility of Menaphos being that next location. And just the desert theme surrounding it, mummies and that kind of scarabs kind of thing would be really cool, I think, for a raids kind of thing. I think it'd be pretty cool. And if we've done, Chambers of Xeric with randomization and we're doing Theatre of Blood with a linear pathway, to me it would make sense that if we were to do Menaphos in the future, we'd go back to a randomization and we could almost rotate on a different type of raid system.
Okay.
And I'd quite enjoy just the theme of that area. I'd like to fill in Menaphos, would be the answer.
I'd be up for that, although I'd like it to be quite a long time after, this raiding dungeon before we do another.
Oh,
raiding
absolutely.
dungeon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fortunately, the kind of update you're describing would be a very long time away, so
Yes.
that's not an issue. Because it's now, we launched Chambers of Xeric at the start of 2017. It's well into 2018 now, so it's been nicely over a year. I think we can afford a while before we try and write another raiding dungeon. But I would like to fill in that desert like you describe. But I think they got a bit more with the Missing My Mummy quest, with the mastaba they put
I
there.
think they cleaned it as well. They cleaned the rest of it up and did the rest of the landmass while they were there.
Yes.
But it was just emptiness.
Okay, I'm the same, by the way. I'd love to see an expansion of the desert area. I think I said before in the last Q&A, Desert Treasure 2 as well as part of a quest. So if anything can tie into that, that would be awesome for me. So
Would that use the design mod West told us about one day?
maybe.
Don't tweet at Jagex West and ask him about Desert Treasure 2.
He's been working on a lot of things, actually, a lot of reworks that we're looking to announce in the near future. Just not as anything that we're actually going to do, but more of a kind of like, this is an idea. What do you think about it? And gather your feedback on it and go from there.
What about you? What about you guys? Area-wise, you said Menopause as well.
Yep, I think Ash, were you similar in terms of desert?
Actually, well, while I'd like to deal with the coastline there, the particular black hole I'd like to fill in would be the one in the kind of ice area to the north near Gorok, because we don't have what RS3's got there, but the troll quest I pitched at RuneFest over a year and a half ago would be a way of putting something there and also being able to refer to the lore. So we'd still be consistent, in fact, but it wouldn't be in use for that. But the troll area that we pitched, Weiss or Vice, I'm not sure how it was going to be pronounced, who cares, would fit really nicely with what would be there in the other game.
Cool.
Yeah, really cool.
I was going to say the troll area as well. I
Okay.
can't wait for.
Nice and easy. I
area
see
to be
Mod
filled.
Maz is eager with the mic there.
I'd love to explore more of Fossil Island because there's so much more in my head and players' heads. Their ideas that they've come up with are some really cool ones.
Fossil Island 2, you heard it here first.
But another island.
Not necessarily another island, but maybe more parts of the existing island that they haven't found yet.
Okay. And that fossil boss that
that
spoke
too.
of would be rather nice.
Oh, that definitely is, yes.
Cool. Roy, do you have enough time?
I mean, Jay kind of stole my thunder with that.
Okay.
That was in my
Sorry,
mind. But I didn't know
That's fine.
if we could say it, but yeah, Menopause Raid would be.
Awesome. Cool. We've had a quick question coming through the chat from 666 Dalmatian. Very fitting name for the question. Is Archie dead? No, Archie is not dead. He's on holiday. So
Celebrating his birthday.
yeah, of course. Great. So the next question comes from Deacon Steele, which says, we have heard the horror stories of trying to read the Ape Atoll code and make changes to it. What pieces of older code have been the hardest to understand and work with besides this?
Up until about February, farming.
Yeah.
Then I kind of nuked it.
Yeah.
It's not too bad now.
You sure nuked it all right.
It's several thousand lines shorter for a start. It used to be that there was one set of code for the growth timer while you're online, a separate one that was a lot longer for the growth cycle when you log in and it's catching up. And you had to remember to update both in very laborious ways for every patch you wanted to add. Now there's one that does both catch up and online, and what you tie into it is actually shorter than either ever was, and rather easy to work with. The thing about farming is that the developer who wrote it was dealing with a much simpler game engine than we have today, and that's saying something. So he had to have code that could work on all the patches. So he wrote a whole lot of stuff with getters and setters. So you get the patch into temporary memory, process the logic on the temporary memory, and then save it back to the patch's permanent memory on your save game profile. And that's using the language of 2005 actually didn't look very nice. Now we've still got that, and realistically I think we always will, because it's not really inhibiting us from anything, so we've no pressing need to rewrite it. It would just be, well, risk of bugs for you and a lot of time not doing other things you want for very little benefit to anyone, including us. So that's probably staying, but it's at least easier to read now than it was. And the code for when they grow is mine, and broadly speaking, people seem happy with how it's ticking these days, so I'm quite happy about that. Also, Slayer assignments, that was unpleasant. Used to be from 2004 to 2005, sorry, to well, about 2014 for 15 for old school. When a master assigned you a task, they'd check, can we give you this one? Roll a random thing for it. well, you failed the random roll, so can we give you this one? You failed that random roll. Can you give you this one? Actually, you're not eligible for that, so we won't roll that. Can we give you this one? Yes, you passed the random roll for that, so you get that task. It means that the chance of getting that task depended quite heavily on which order the list was in, whether you'd unlocked the ones that were written above it in the list. And if people said, what's the chance of me getting this one? The answer would take quite a few minutes of calculation to find out, and they didn't have simple weightings, because while they had a weighting, it was dependent on how far down they were in the list, and whether the things with requirements were above or below them. So getting rid of that was very pleasing. For that one, I did actually copy the logic used in RS3, written by Mod Pneumatic, I think his name was. Another Matt we've had over the years. He wrote the Smoking Kills quest and rewrote the Slayer task code to go with it. And while I didn't copy his code, I did use the same kind of code he used, only with simpler variable names that weren't all called Smoking Kills on
SMKI underscore.
Well, yes, the entire Slayer system in RS3 depended on the Smoking Kills variables from that point onwards, and we don't need that.
Actually, Maz, can you explain what you did with potions? Because I know you did a big rewrite of making mixing potions and stuff. Because I remember
every single potion had the code duplicated for making it. Same piece of code with a couple of different things changed as to what potion you got. So I moved all the data onto the object configs themselves and wrote some nice generic code which just dealt with it and created your potion.
I had to test that. I had to create every single potion in-game using each item on every order possible. So use the vial on the herb, use the herb on the vial, use the secondary on the vial, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much.
Kieran also, because you'd think it would be a part of Herblore, but evidently drinking potions is completely separate bit of code as well. So Kieran had to rewrite that when he did and it was for what? It was for such a stupid thing. It was for that auto smash functionality from Barbarians, where when you finish the potion, you smash it and you like delete it out your inventory. And he had to centralize the entirety of the code of drinking potions, and I think he again put the effects on the config. I can't quite remember how he did it, but previously it was if you up this 4 dose, 3 dose, 2 dose, or 1 dose, it would be you do this effect and then you change to this, and you delete this item and then add this item back, and it was just this copied code of like 3,000 lines that Kieran condensed to like 20. So I had to give myself every potion in game and just drink it and make sure the effects worked, which was quite fun as well.
Sounds like fun.
With the joys of QA.
Yeah.
It's the job.
Mine would have to be either Barbarian Assault or Hunting code, the tracking code.
The Barbarian Assault code's actually got a lot nicer since Mod Tom H went at it.
Oh, good.
I was so confused with Hunter code when I did like the reset laying of trap thing, because I was like, why has this trap got an NPC and a lock and an object and it had like so many different things attached to it. I was like, how is it working? And it's witchcraft is the answer.
Oh, that's an interesting question in chat. Why no unit testing? Because we don't use Java, we use RuneScape.
Yeah, we can't. It's not as simple as you'd hope it would be, like software testing, sadly.
I was going to say, there's nothing like playing Barbarian Assault on your own with all five roles.
We did a few
I'm pretty sure every time Barb Assault comes in, it just goes, hey, Rock, you did it last time. Can you do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the playtest that we did, though. Because
we taught you how to play Barb Assault.
You taught me how to play Barb Assault, and I was becoming professional. Yes, don't disagree.
It's moving on in the chat.
Yeah, so...
There is. Well, to be fair, you did start this with... This is a regular
it's
Q&A.
not going to be your same Q&A as always. It's, it's not going to be, this isn't a permanent thing. It's just a one-off that we're just trying out and just seeing how it goes.
If you tweet us a question, we can happily tweet back yes.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's going to be done relatively quicker.
Exactly.
It depends what the question's about, frankly.
That's true. We can also say no.
But maybe this one will be a little bit of a faster question. Jersey says, can we look into the barbarian fishing spots near the Chambers of Xeric? There's only 2 spots compared to the 5 at Barbarian Outpost. The 2 spots that are there are really spread out from each other, and they seem to move a lot more frequently. And then finishes off with saying that spot. Why can't I talk today? That spot was supposed to be a nice change of scenery, but it's not really worth going to.
Archie can't pronounce
I think so. I did the same. We were recording for the Theatre of Blood video earlier today, and I just couldn't talk. But yeah, anyway, what do we feel? How do we feel about?
Didn't Kieran mention last week that he wanted to adjust the barbarian fishing spots so they also don't stack on each other as well?
Given what time he finished work and went home last night, I'm thinking he hasn't had time to do that.
And I think he'll be on holiday for a little while now. So.
Just attack the chat for asking questions that are pretty simple and not discussion based, and then you've asked this question. But to be honest,
I said there's a mix.
But we can look into that. We can look into it. Absolutely. Cool. We could happily add a couple of more and maybe make them not move as frequently. I'm pretty sure they move the same frequency though, but I
think it's because they move further.
It feels
different.
Yeah. Cool. So the next one comes from Smunt B. Can Wrath runes act as a combination Death and Chaos rune? PKing effectively on normal magics takes a minimum of 6 rune slots when not risking a rune pouch. Normals is already weaker in terms of DPS, and having 4 less food/brews than someone with Ancients is a big disadvantage. I'm just going to straight up and say no.
I mean,
personally.
I wouldn't mind a combination room for those things, but the issue when an item exists in game already and you give it extra functionality is that those items already exist in the game.
Yep.
And you don't lose a sync that would in turn then create that. So if you were saying, hey, could we have take a Chaos Talisman to the Wrath Altar and use Chaos and Death runes with a Wrath rune to create a new rune that combines them, then I'd probably think about it. But
just straight up buffing them, I think.
Just straight up buffing it is insane. Like, no.
Cool. Okay. There's a question here that I can't ask because Matt K isn't here, so sorry about that. PM me your feline. Interesting. A question from Ronan, aka ML Goody. From your perspectives, what are the most problematic pieces of content in the game, and how might you like to resolve the issues they pose? Oh, this is a tough one.
Damn it, Ronan.
I think
so. I would probably say that for me, we've obviously got the integrity stuff, so let's not worry about those because we know that we have, we've announced that we're looking at those. Quick update on that. We're still going through the feedback, making changes that are based on your feedback, and going through the death mechanics survey. I think we covered that last week. I would probably say that I would like to look at the rewards from Nightmare Zone and how they're obtained. I don't like the fact that they're from Nightmare Zone. I think Nightmare Zone in itself is its own kind of like little thing. Some people see it as an issue, some people don't. So I'm not too concerned about the use of training in there. Maybe it needs a little bit less of XP that it gives, and that would probably be the solution to tackle the training. But the rewards, I would love to see them come from different areas, whether that be different mini games or just different activities in general, especially the stuff that is related to Slayer. I think should be part of Slayer.
There's quite a lot in my head that I'm thinking about with this question.
The herb box being available from the Tired Farm has also come up recently.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That's what I had to say about that,
though. I'd probably say, because there's so much that we're inadvertently wanting to tackle, we just don't have time. I think my top one would probably be, it was on the tip of my tongue and I forgot it.
A blister.
No?
Drop tables?
Thank you. Drop tables.
Oh, I read your mind.
It was. You got me. Because I was like, Death System, but not that one. That one's there too. Drop tables. I don't necessarily know when we'll have the time to address them, and it's something that comes up relatively frequently. But just generally bringing down the overall amount of golden items to just as a percentage, because even then it does something to the economy. If everything has 50% drop table change, like if everything is halved in the game, it's not really a direct impact per se, but it makes the value of gold go up because things stretch further. But it wouldn't be as basic as that as well. There are things that we'd like to completely make better, like Grotesque Guardians come up all the time still, and compared to gargoyles. Probably drop tables would be my top one that we are kind of looking at, but when we get time.
Yeah. Cool.
It's never too late. Don't say, I saw that in the chat. It's never too late to change an economy. Okay, and it's not even in that bad of a position anyway. God, it sounds like Greece. Holy. Wow.
For me, it has to be high-level combat weaponry. I think that over time, and with the stuff that's come out, high-level PVM, with the exception of the Inferno, doesn't really carry difficulty anymore. And for me personally, having that difficulty either back or in some form or another.
Good job.
It used to be the fact that you could go and you'd be lucky to get 50 kills without having to leave. And now you see some people that use all these different methods with all these different weapons and go for hundreds of kills without having to leave the boss.
It's true. I mean, it's definitely a fact, whether it's because, you know, there's no denying that Gear's more powerful now than it used to be. But at the same time, players are a lot better than they used to be back in the day. So people play a lot more efficiently, they know the meta, and they pretty much know what they're doing. Just on that point, I think it's worth reiterating that we've got the Theatre of Blood coming out very soon. And from what I've seen and from what we've discussed, I believe it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. And I can't imagine that they'll be farming that one very fast for quite some time. I think eventually they'll figure it out like they did with the Chambers of Zerek. But it's interesting, so I can't wait to see what people start doing when that comes out. So I just stole that little section.
That's right.
Apologies. Anyone?
And of course, death. But we've ran that survey about that, so I look forward to seeing what you're okay with us doing to it.
For me, it's construction. So I love player-owned houses, but the way we train construction is create the same thing over and over and over and over again.
It's so fun.
So yeah, I'd like to get some better ways of training construction. I wouldn't want to remove player-owned houses.
There wouldn't be a lot of construction if you did.
This is true.
Anything, Ryan?
So for me, it'd probably be the catacombs.
Okay.
Like purely just because of the amount of slave XP per hour you can gain in there. Like, what is the max now? Like
I want to destroy that place so bad.
80k, is it?
No. Yeah. Well, I think Dusty's... No, sorry. Smoke Devils are the best task, but you can push 100k XP an hour in things like neck reels.
That's a lot, isn't it?
I mean, it used to be, what, like 25k-ish that you were expecting to get, and now it's getting kind of ridiculous.
Okay.
So that's what might change.
So what would you suggest we would do in terms of the catacombs? Do you have any kind of like ideas in mind or changes that you would want to make?
I mean, the removal of multi-way combat would probably be the easiest fix, but then I don't know. It's a hard one to judge, really.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't even remove multi. I'd probably just add magic defense to the creatures. That would probably solve most issues. And then you could argue, okay, but the chins, but the high defense would probably negate that for some creatures anyway, which is fine. But yeah.
I'd also like to move them so they're not necessarily as close to a bank, because I think nearly every single drop down into the catacombs is probably about 20 seconds from a bank.
Yeah, okay. And just to reiterate to appease you guys in chat that everything that we're saying is just a discussion. These are things that are our own opinions as individuals. It doesn't necessarily reflect the opinions of the entire team or of the community. It's just, this is what we think. It doesn't mean that anything's going to change or anything's going to happen. Pretty much just putting that out there.
For the record, I like the catacombs. I'm just going to put that out there.
Yeah.
I quite like them, but that's just me.
Yeah. Whether you like it or not, death is going to happen to you in real life, even if we don't do anything.
Wow, how dark was that?
Yeah.
Whoa.
On that note, Thanks RS asks, what content did you struggle the most with? And not necessarily code-wise, but also balancing.
Well, given the list of things we said we didn't feel we balanced very well, see previous answers, I'm thinking.
Okay.
For me, it was the new version of Deadman mode. I was tasked essentially with balancing the new tables that went into the latest season of Deadman. And for me, it was kind of like, I have to get this right. I cannot get this wrong, otherwise it could just ruin it completely.
Okay.
So that was more like a nerve-wracking moment as opposed to...
Yeah, kind of like a lot of pressure.
It's not hard to change drop tables, but when you have to get it pretty much spot on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there anything else?
I think anything that involves multiple players becomes quite challenging for us because, you know, when you write a piece of code that's meant to be used by more than 3 people simultaneously, it becomes rather hard for a single person to test, like you were saying the Barbie Assault earlier. And the Deadman thing in particular would have been where you go through the different arenas in the 1v1 bit at the end, that was really rather hard for them to test, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I do not personally enjoy trying to write that kind of thing. On the other hand, I would very much like to have a go at the PvP arena we've talked about.
There's an inevitable problem with balancing in general with QA where we're not as good as you guys, like really not as good, and we can only balance to the data that we have. So if we presume something to take this long, we have to balance around that number. We usually say, okay, and add or take away 30 seconds from that time, or take away even a minute, like insane numbers as a percentage, because we're like, you're going to do it better than us. You have to balance around that. And if the next day, I don't know, Wooks ends up walking Vorkath, and all of a sudden the speed is 3 times what you expected, you very quickly go, didn't really expect that. Thanks for finding that. But Vorkath was a big problem, and it's still kind of a touchy one at the moment, I find, with some people. It's really odd, because you also need to balance this expectation of, is it too good or is it too bad? Because you're always going to upset somebody. It's either going to be too powerful or too weak. There is never a perfect harmony when you're adding a top-tier thing, because should it be better gold than the current best gold because it's got a quest requirement? Should it be less because it's technically slightly easier? Is it easier? I don't know, but...
It's not just playing games.
Yeah.
It isn't.
I spend like 30% of my time on an Excel sheet. It's not fun.
Cool. Unless there's anything else, I'll ask the next question. Cool. So, it's an interesting name. True to Frohi says, now that we have the special attack orb, will it be possible to toggle it on and off in the future?
Well, considering we actually polled specifically that we wouldn't, that whether they wanted to have that functionality or not, and it failed, it would have to be polled again.
Is that referring to toggling the orb on and off, or toggling the spec on and off from the orb?
Ah.
How about, let's say, both? What if we were to look at toggling it so that you could actually remove just the special attack orb itself?
I think that's what they're asking.
That
Oh, if
sounds
that's what
like
they're
the
asking, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And how do we feel about if you were able to click on it to make it use the special attack?
Please, Lord, no.
Well,
Yeah, I'm
it
gonna say
didn't
no.
pass, and I don't like it.
We'd have to repoll it at the very least.
Cool. There we go. There's that one then. Mikey says, why don't Aviances drop euconomical keys? I don't know if that's
Ecumenical keys.
ecumenical. Thank you. In the Wilderness God Wars dungeon. Is it a law reason, or was it to restrict money making whilst collecting keys?
At the time, the Aviances up there had the unique drops of the banknoted Addy bars. It was not felt that they needed to be given this as well. Then we started putting the banknoted Addy bars elsewhere, so it became less unique. But we didn't have a pressing reason to change the ones in the wilderness at the time.
At the time, like you said, it's if you have several creatures to kill and one of them gives the thing and more, you always kill that one.
Just a bit.
It's what I call the adamant and rune dragon problem, where if you release a lower tier of a creature as you simultaneously release a better creature, one of them is always going to be worse to kill comparatively to the other. That's just how it works.
It sure would be convenient if you could go there, get your ecumenical keys, and come back with a nice stack of adamant banknotes. Probably quite a large stack, I'm thinking. But we just didn't have a pressing reason to enable that for you.
Okay. Jeeval asks, how does the old school team think the hashtag Fantasy EHP League could be improved next season? So I'll let you answer shortly. I'm just going to quickly say one thing that myself and Modsween want to do is actually open up support to other communities doing other competitions. And we feel that one area that we could improve on in general is actually putting together some kind of way that you guys can pitch towards us competitions or events that you want to run. And from there, we can come back to you and say, this is the level of support that we can provide. And I think having kind of like a more formal process involved with that would help out across the board. In terms of the actual league itself, I'm going to be honest with you, I am so not well enough with high-level skilling to be able to comment. I think that they're doing a great job of running it at the moment. I'm keeping in touch with the guys and the rules that they're making. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it actually. And the memes that come out of it are absolutely hilarious. So
I don't know. I was going to say a similar thing to what you just said,
Cool.
except I was just annoyed because I wasn't going to be on stream today. Obviously, I was a fallback for Matt,
Yeah.
and I wore my Hexus shirt in preparation for it. Didn't come on with it, so sorry, but I was going to come on with it.
Going to support that, surely you should be going for a Yak Boys shirt.
Nate's not Yak Boys.
It's all about the Brimhaven big ballers.
Oh, I don't know.
Ditter Bitter asks if we have any update on the Aram staff glitch.
So I worked with a couple of players recently to get a lot more information on it, because a lot of the reports I got was, this happens, and it didn't really tell me a lot. At which point I got a lot more information on what was going on. I entered an issue into our system for it to be looked into, and Ash kindly looked into it for me.
Yeah, I worked out that one last weekend, I think it was. Sometime last week, anyway. Where's the status of the testing on that one?
It is awaiting QA, and currently it's scheduled for next week.
Cool, thank you.
Oh, there we have it. Thanks. Martin 2007 asks, where is the Raids 1 Qual Week you talked about some time ago, and also in the challenge mode dev blog? I think that one. So I believe Mod Sween will be taking on that project in terms of from a community side of things. I can't speak again. In terms of where is it? Well, we've obviously told you now that in 3 weeks' time we'll be releasing the Chambers of Xeric challenge mode. We all know that Chambers of Xeric challenge mode is going to be a set room order. You obviously don't know the details in terms of what rooms are in there, but it's very likely that they're going to be rooms that you wouldn't normally do, that you would have done in a normal challenge, normal raid, that you would have potentially scouted and changed out for the best order. So obviously we're looking at feedback in how we can balance other rooms and make changes. It feels like actually this is a perfect opportunity for you guys to go in with challenge mode, try it out for a few weeks. We've obviously got the leaderboards that are going to be set based on the times that they were done in the weeks. And then after a few weeks, we'll realise we'll get a lot of feedback come through, and then we'll open up discussions of, okay, which rooms do we need to look at? What changes do we need to make whilst it's fresh on everyone's mind? And then, following on from there, it might be that for the first 2 weeks, the speeds were slower because the rooms weren't as balanced. And then the following weeks, it's much faster. And that's okay because, they'll be recorded. You'll know at which dates and times. But I feel like that's a good approach for us to take.
Yeah, two main reasons. First one is a great way to get data set, to get accurate time. Because obviously we know the rooms of trouble for many people and timing. But if we can really nail down the average time for those rooms and get really direct feedback quickly and very freshly on the mind, that's good for us. Secondly, truthfully, we're very busy. People are currently working on other things at the moment. And until probably, I'd say until after Theatre of Blood would be the earliest that we'll get this, if you want me to be honest.
Yeah, in all honesty, it's probably most likely, especially given the kind of schedule that we've just kind of announced and everything else that might come up in between then, so, or after then actually. Cool. I've lost where I am. This is the first time I've lost where I am and doing it's the Chris Archie curse. Okay, another update. Zebrinu asks if we can get an update on the log storage for balloons from the most recent Qual poll, please.
There is a few remaining jobs from that Qual poll, but it's kind of like the same response that Mod Wolf just gave to the last question, that we know they're there, we do want to do them, but as he said, we are also busy with the bigger projects at the moment.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't want to seem like I'm just shunting it off as well, by the way. It's not like we're busy and we're just saying that. I mean, every single developer we have right now is dedicated to a project that if they don't work on, it won't go out, that you're expecting as well. And it's just a long list of things that you're expecting. Sorry?
Okay. I mean, I think we've said before, we obviously have priorities of pieces of content and when they're going to be coming out and things that we've announced. And there's always new things coming through from the community and some really great suggestions. And the ones that are really high impact in straight away, we'll look to do if we possibly can.
I saw a suggestion in the chat from Brixtus, I think it was, to get more stuff, which, well, that's actually taken up quite a lot of time as well. Maz has spent a lot of her time lately reviewing CVs and getting interviews organised. Kieran and Jed and Ed and I have been doing a lot of those interviews and sending people the things that come after them. We hope to have more staff on this couch with us. It's not that far away now in the case of one guy.
Yeah, end of May I think it is, isn't it?
Marvellous.
Maybe. Potentially.
Maybe.
And we're still hiring another, I believe.
We are still recruiting beyond the one we've got an offer out for, and other roles are needed as well. Check the website if you want to see what we're recruiting for.
Jagex.com/jobs.
It's careers.
Is it careers now? It's changed.
It's always been careers.
Has it?
Yep.
I've always known it as Jagex Jobs.
I see it moving on.
Yep.
In my head.
So, interesting discussion point here from Rob Volpeltongs. With such a critical and oftentimes harsh vocal community, how do you and the rest of the team cope and keep motivated through all the criticism and general unpleasantness you all receive?
Cry myself to sleep every night. Copious amounts of... I'm kidding. No.
I think I just end up playing more RuneScape. For some reason, I just don't get out of it.
You just play.
I think the biggest thing for me personally is just, at the end of the day, you're just really passionate, and it's hard to have to remind ourselves that when you sometimes say things that are so not eloquently put. But at the end of the day, you're only saying those kind of things because you care about the game.
Yeah.
And similarly, we care about the game and you as well. Without you, we would cease to exist. We wouldn't have a job. And it's, to many of us, it's more than a job. We love this game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop there.
Yeah,
I think
that's fair.
it.
I think the only thing that I would add on to that is that, aside from everything else, is that, yes, there's a lot of feedback that comes through, and, we know that you guys are passionate. There's also a lot of like really, really, really nice comments, and those ones stand out so much more. And when you read them, it kind of like goes, do you know what, actually, it was worth it. And that's probably what gets it for me, is that, we look through, I just kind of like look past the things that aren't worded as well as they could be, in my opinion, and then try and get to the, what is this, why are they upset, why are they frustrated, and why is this message coming across the way that it is? And then, so as soon as you've dissected that, you actually realise, oh, it's because of this problem. Well, let's fix it. And then, hopefully we fix it, and before you know it, it's like, oh, cool, you fixed it, that's great.
I wish they said it in a way that didn't start like that, but,
Yeah. Like, why are you so stupid that you've done this thing? Like, please explain why you're so stupid.
And it could have been worded as, why did you do this thing?
At the end of the day, you can get that they say what the thing is on a good day and what they don't like about it, and maybe there'll be something we can do. And maybe sometimes you tell them why it is the way it is. At least they know you cared.
I was going to say, you should be glad you don't read the bug reports.
I've seen
They can be pretty...
Yikes.
Pretty awful.
Yeah, pretty.
A long time ago when I was in QA, I got a bug report in from a player saying, such and such happened to me, I don't like it, and if you don't give me my stuff back, I'm going to go to Andrew Gower's house, the founder, for those who are new to the community. I'm going to go to Andrew's house, I'm going to slit his mother's throat while she's sleeping. Now, I wasn't too fussed about this in particular, because I knew for a fact that Andrew, being in his 20s, didn't actually live with his mother, so any such attempt would not work.
Monka S. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the player was really, really angry and chose to, express themselves that way with actual murder threats against somebody who doesn't program for RuneScape. Anyway, sorry. Well, that serves you right. Anyway, I banned the player for a week to try and encourage them to rethink how they report bugs. Andrew found out and was actually a bit annoyed at me for not doing it permanently. In retrospect, I could probably have justified that and also forwarded it to the police. But it probably wasn't intended seriously. Of course, some people say things not intending to be taken seriously and find that they get penalised for it anyway. Perhaps they should rethink their sense of humour.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'll just do one more quick question before we bring on Mod Surma. I want to ask a few quick fire questions, and then we'll get onto the track that is we're going to preview. A player has asked, do we feel like holiday events are worth it?
I do, but because they come out of the game very quickly afterwards, I don't at the same time. They're fun to do, and I enjoy working on them, but the fact that they only exist for 3 weeks and then they're gone is the kind of bit that I don't like.
If players were more okay with them having reduced graphics budgets like before we got Mod Ghost and even Mod Alfred and you and West, we still were putting out events at the holidays. They were smaller. Yeah. Easter 2015, we didn't have a lot of time available because Mod Ghost had to work on other stuff at the time. So I wrote the Easter event using recycled assets, but it was a completely new story. And even the fact that the assets were recycled made sense. The Easter Bunny said he'd got this kind of flamethrower thing adapted from something Django sold him on the cheap. So that's why it looks like the Ghostbuster from a previous thing Django used. We're not short of projectiles for these kinds of things. If people would be more okay with events that have new content but do not require 2 weeks of somebody making a new wall kit for Santa's office for you to just stand in and click on his desk, I think it would really let us do the traditional kinds of events that people expect without it locking up the team for a huge amount of time.
I was really surprised at the amount of people that said no in the chat when it was asked if it was worth or not, because one thing that I always find interesting is with holiday events, you look at RuneScape and they stopped doing them for quite a while because similarly, you know, as other people in the chat have mentioned, it can be seen as a waste of dev time. But now that they've stopped doing that, they've reverted back to doing them because people have missed them. And I don't know if you guys would feel the same as well. I would presume you probably would. It's one of those tradition things, I feel, as well, where we've always done those events, and it feels weird if we were to never get something like it. I could be wrong, though. Maybe we should, if we can get a straw poll, that would be great, Naz, if you're able to. And whilst we get that, if Mod Surma, if you want to come and join us on the couch. Hi, Mod Surma.
1, 2, hello.
Hopefully the mic's working there.
Think so. Are we working? Awesome.
We're all good. Awesome. Okay, awesome. So what do you do at Jagex?
What do I do? I'm the junior audio designer. So I create lots of audio assets for both RuneScape and old school RuneScape now. Okay,
awesome. So you've been involved with the Theatre of Blood. What exactly is your involvement in that?
Right. So again, it's just literally creating lots of new music tracks. We have lots of new content which is being kind of pushed out, which is really great. It's great to be kind of part of and contributing again to old school. So we've got lots of new audio assets, new music, new sound effects, which is going to make the whole content way more engaging and way more immersive.
Awesome. So are you able to tell us how many new tracks are going to be coming with the Theatre of Blood and the Taste of Hope?
There's a lot.
Okay.
There's a big amount. I don't want to say exactly how many, perhaps, but there's have a good chunk of good stuff coming your way.
I was going to say, talking of audio quality, they seem to like your voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Great. So how is the overall progress coming along then in terms of like your completion of those tracks?
Progress as well. So myself and Mod Ian, who I'm sure everyone knows as being the kind of original composer of all the old school tracks, which we hold very dear to ourselves. Progress is going well. We're kind of pushing ahead. Really churning good stuff out. You know, we're always discussing new ideas and what kind of direction we need to go in for the new kind of arenas and dungeons.
Awesome. So how do you make a track? Just run us through the process of making a new music track for old school.
Really briefly, I guess. You know, it's we I don't want to bore you too much with all the kind of music details.
Oh, it's fine. They listen to me all the time.
Yeah. No. Okay. Well, it's something. Well, it's something which we call MIDI, but you know, it's kind of like sampled music and sampled music data, which we then kind of you know, change different pitches, and we put it through something which we call a DAW, creating like lots of instrumental parts, harmony, and all this good stuff. It's quite an interesting process. If you want to talk to me, just, I don't know, tweet me or something. I don't know.
It's at Jagex.
Jagex, yeah.
Awesome. There's a cheeky little plug for you then.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess last question from me then is, can you tell us one interesting fact about one of the tracks that have been created for the Theatre of Blood?
Perhaps I think the most interesting thing about the Theatre of Blood, maybe personally, because it's you know, the kind of tools that we're using is all quite different from like modern day tools. So it's definitely a new learning approach, a new learning direction as well. You know,
yeah.
I've got to really kind of think about how I'm going to approach this. But I think the definitely the most interesting thing is perhaps how you create the sound effects, because they're all kind of digitally created, not organic. So they're not kind of real sounds. So you have to kind of really create things using. Again, I'm boring you with all the details really, but all kind of like all these kind of different waveforms to create organic sounds. It's all interesting stuff. Again, if you want to tweet me, you can.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's really interesting. So that's at JagXSurma. Thank you for that. We've still got a couple of minutes, so I guess we'll fit in a few questions. You're welcome to stay on the couch if you want, Karen.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got some straw poll results for you.
The straw poll results, yeah.
I think
Probably set me off.
Something's broke Ryan Wolf.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Do you know what I'm doing? I'm being a
Carry
professional
on.
host and I'm ignoring it. I might not be able to speak, but I can definitely ignore people. I'm good at doing that. So one of the straw pods here, straw pods? I told you I can't talk. One of the straw polls here was, should we fire Mod Ayeza? 39% of you say who. So that's great. We won't go on to say how many people say yes, because, well, the only responses other than who were yes. So I guess because who was the most popular, actually, they don't want to fire me.
No one voted for yes.
Thanks. Great. And in terms of the Keep holiday events coming, 57% of you say yes, and 43% of you say no. We should have time for one last question, which comes from fermented eggs. Does driftnet fishing on Fossil Island have a chance to give the heron pet?
Pretty sure it doesn't. Underwater pets would not go so well.
I actually found out the other day that seaweed has the chance. I think, other than seaweed, though, underwater pets, no, you can't. But if you were to take a thing or an activity to underwater that would give a pet, then you could also get a pet that way as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see why we wouldn't have plugged it in for the new underwater thing, but farming patches kind of just do it anyway. Also, if you were to mostly kill a boss and then go underwater and then have somebody else finish off the boss, but you still get the loot and the kill credit, if you get a pet on that pet roll, it'll come to you wherever you are. We could have restricted it because, you're underwater, you can't have your pet, but that'd be kind of harsh.
And the example I was thinking was just if you take Wintertog crates underwater, yes, you can technically get a phoenix there underwater, and seaweed you can get.
Oh, who's going to
An incredible waste of your time.
Who's going to be the first underwater phoenix pet achiever? I want to see that.
And will they stay there forever, just taking screenshots of themselves, so that since once they've gone back up onto the surface, they won't be able to take it back down again?
Interesting. Well, that, however, leads us to 6 o'clock, which means it's the end of the live stream. Don't go anywhere, though, because we are about to show you a upcoming track called, I think it's Welcome to the Theatre we've gone for?
Welcome to the theatre, yes.
Perfect, which is going to be released alongside a Taste of Hope, which is the quest accompanying the Theatre of Blood. Enjoy, and thank you.
Sorry about the coughing, by the way. I ran out of tea.